"Where's your so-called brother?" Marie asked, her foot tapping impatiently against the floor. The rhythm echoed a Morse code, not for an SOS, but rather a demand. "Where's the money?" "He promised to help with the repairs, but I guess he's stuck in his village again." Brad sighed as he looked at his wife, her eyes revealing a blend of irritation and something resembling greed. "Marie, you know Alex. The moment he sees his parents' house, he's gone. There are beds, chickens, pickles, and jams to distract him." "Right, and we're left here in this city apartment with peeling wallpaper," Marie scoffed, rolling her eyes so dramatically it seemed they might pop out of her head. "Sometimes I think your brother is more married to that house than to Natalie." Brad chuckled. "Well, maybe that's for the best. At least the house doesn't nag him." "Very funny," Marie snapped. "It'd be nice if you were as sharp with your jokes when it comes to selling that damn place." While this exchange could pass for a typical family quarrel, it merely scratched the surface of the story between the two brothers, Brad and Alex. Meanwhile, in the village, Alex was up to his elbows in soil, trying to revive the family garden. "Alex, are you really going to plant all those potatoes?" Natalie asked, staring at him with a mix of admiration and horror. Straightening up and wiping the sweat from his brow, Alex wore a smile, as if he had just discovered the meaning of life in a potato patch. "Of course, you know what Dad always said. Homegrown potatoes aren't just food. They're a guarantee you won't freeze in winter, and there will always be moonshine," Natalie finished for him. "I know, you say that every year. And I'll keep saying it," Alex proclaimed proudly, "because it's true." Natalie shook her head. "Alex, don't forget you promised your brother you'd help with the repairs." Alex froze mid-shovel, caught as if he were a child with his hand in the cookie jar. "Oh my God, I completely forgot. Brad has probably cursed every wall in the apartment," Alex exclaimed. "Not the walls, but you," Natalie chuckled. "Call them now and explain yourself." Dusting off his hands, Alex reached for the phone. "Hello, Brad. Listen, here's the situation." "Let me guess," Brad interrupted from the other end. "You're buried in dirt and totally forgot about the wallpaper." "Well, something like that," Alex admitted sheepishly. "Look, bro, I really wanted to come, but I need to plant potatoes." "Potatoes?" Brad's voice dripped with disbelief. "Luca, are you out of your mind? We're in the middle of renovations here." "Brad, you don't understand," Alex protested. "It's not just about the potatoes, it's—" Yeah, memory, traditions, all that," Brad sighed. "Haven't you considered that maybe it's time to move on? You know, live in the present instead of the past." A pause hung in the air as Alex tightened his grip on the phone. "Brad, what are you implying?" "Oh, nothing," Brad replied, but there was a tone in his voice that Alex found unsettling. "Just wondering if it might be time for a change." After that conversation, Alex felt restless. He sensed that there was more behind his brother's words than mere frustration with his absence. Weeks turned into months, and months into years. As their parents aged, Alex found himself visiting the village more frequently, not only to care for the garden, but also to help with household chores. Brad would occasionally come by, mostly during holidays. "Brad's son," their mother would say during their visits. "You've forgotten us completely. Is it all work and no play?" "Yes, Mom," Brad would reply. "There's a lot to take care of, you know." "I understand, son, I do," she sighed. "Just remember, work isn't a wolf. It won't run off into the woods. But time is like water. It flows away unnoticed." Brad nodded, promising to visit more often, but those promises remained unfulfilled. Then the inevitable happened. First, their father passed away, and 6 months later, their mother followed. The brothers were left alone, burdened with a house full of memories and problems. "So what do we do with this house now?" Marie asked when she and Brad returned from the funeral. "Maybe we should sell it." Brad turned to his wife, surprised. "Marie, are you serious? Sell it? Yes, yes, I know, she interrupted. The family home, the memories, the roots. But think about it. Why do we need it? Let Alex deal with it if he wants, but why should we carry this burden? A burden? Brad asked, frowning. What do you mean? Listen, Mary stepped closer, placing her hand on his shoulder. The house is old and needs repairs, plus it's far away. If we sell it, think about how much money we could get. We could buy a new car and go to the beach. You should convince your brother to sell. Then, Brad made a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. He agreed. Alex, listen, he started when he called his brother. Maybe we should consider selling the house. I mean, who needs it? We live in the city, and you don't go there often either. Alex stared at him, bewildered. Brad, are you out of your mind? This is our home. We spent our entire childhood there. Our parents lived there. I know, Brad snapped. But you have to see, it's just a house. It's old and in need of repairs. Why should we keep it? I need it, Alex replied quietly, and I won't sell it. Alex, come on, be reasonable. Brad's patience was waning. What are you going to do with it? Plant potatoes? You can buy those at the store. It's not about the potatoes, Alex shook his head. It's about the memories, the roots. Have you forgotten how we played there as kids? How we used to hide in the attic? How Dad taught us to hammer nails? Brad fell silent for a moment, as if lost in thought. But then he shook his head. Alex, it's all in the past. We need to focus on the future. Focus on the future. Alex repeated, his voice tinged with disbelief. Don't you think this could be our future? A place we could share with our children and grandchildren? But Brad had already made up his mind and was no longer listening. As tensions rose, Marie realized that their attempts to reason with Alex were futile, so she urged Brad to take a different approach, to sue his brother, demanding the sale of the house and a division of the proceeds. Brad, the judge addressed the elder brother, are you truly insisting on selling the house? Brad nodded, avoiding eye contact. Next to him, Alex stared at the floor. Alex, the judge said, turning to the younger brother. What do you have to say? Alex looked up, his expression pained. Your Honor, this house is all we have left from our parents. It's not just a building, it's a memory. How can you sell a memory? The judge sighed, sympathy in his eyes. I understand your feelings, Alex, but the law is the law. If one heir insists on selling, the court ruled in favor of selling the house and splitting the proceeds between the brothers. Alex didn't contest the decision. He simply stood up and walked out of the courtroom in silence. Alex, wait, Brad shouted, rushing to catch up with him on the courthouse steps. Let's talk. Alex turned around, and the pain in his eyes made Brad instinctively step back. What is there to talk about, Brad? Alex replied quietly. You've made your decision. You didn't just sell the house, you sold our memories, our childhood. And you know what? Keep all the money for yourself. I don't want it. But you're not my brother anymore. With that, Alex walked away, leaving Brad standing on the steps, stunned and adrift. Years went by. Brad and Marie bought a new car, took vacations at the beach, and renovated their apartment. But something in their lives had irrevocably changed. Brad, do you remember the barbecue we had at the dacha? Marie asked one day while flipping through a glossy magazine. Brad winced. What dacha, Marie? We never had one. Oh right, Marie recalled. That was your parents' house, the one we sold. He didn't respond, but his expression clouded. Many nights, he woke up haunted by memories of the old house, the scent of his mother's pies, and the sound of his father's laughter. As for Alex, he bought a small plot of land not far from where their parents' house once stood. He built a modest home and planted a garden. Each year, when it was time to plant potatoes, he would go into the garden with a shovel, reminiscing about the times he and Brad had done the same long ago. Alex, maybe you should call Brad, Natalie suggested one day. So many years have passed. Alex shook his head. No, Natasha, some things can't be forgiven. He didn't just sell the house, he sold our memories. Two brothers, two separate lives, divided not by distance, but by a decision that could never be reversed. And where was their childhood home all this time? It remained in their memories, the only place that couldn't be sold or taken away. As for Marie, she finally got her new car. However, she found it brought her far less joy than she had anticipated. Brad, maybe we should go away for the weekend. Marie suggested one day, lazily switching channels on the TV. I'm tired of the city. I want to get out into nature. Brad tore his gaze from his laptop and looked at her, a strange mix of sadness and irony in his eyes. Out into nature? And where exactly? We don't have a dacha or a house in the village anymore. Are you suggesting we live in a tent? Marina snorted. There you go again. How long are we going to dwell on that old house? We agreed. The past is the past. Agreed? Brad replied quietly. Who agreed, Marie? You made the decision, and I just went along with it. Meanwhile, in his new home, Alex was tending to his usual tasks. He had just finished canning cucumbers using his mother's old recipe when he heard a knock at the door. Alex, you have guests, Natalie called from the hallway. Alex stepped out and froze in the doorway. Brad stood before him, looking older and worn, but still just as familiar. Hello, brother, Brad said softly. May I come in? Alex stepped back silently, allowing his brother to enter. They moved to the kitchen, where Natalie was already bustling about, putting the kettle on and taking out the old family tea set, the same one that used to be in their parents' house. Well, tell me, Alex finally broke the silence. How's life treating you? Brad offered a bitter smile. What kind of life is it, Alex? It's just emptiness. I think about our house every single day. Every day. And what about the new car? The renovations? The beach? Alex asked, barely masking his irony. Damn it all. Brad suddenly burst out. What beach? What car? I sold my soul along with that house. Do you understand? Alex looked at his brother in silence, pain evident in his eyes. You know, Brad, he finally said, I remember every day too. The house, our parents, you and me. In my memories, you're always my brother, the one who climbed into the attic with me, who stole apples from the neighbor's tree, who dreamed of grand adventures. Brad's eyes filled with tears. Alex, forgive me. I was such an idiot. I'd give anything to have that house back. To have our brotherhood back. Alex stood up and walked to the window, gazing out at the small garden where the potatoes were just starting to sprout. You know, Brad, he said, a house isn't just walls. It's about us, our memories, our feelings. And you know what? Our house is still here. He tapped his chest, right inside us. Brad stood and joined his brother at the window. They stood shoulder to shoulder, watching the green shoots emerge from the earth. Alex, maybe you could teach me how to plant potatoes? I've never really learned how. For the first time in a long while, Alex smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile. Of course, brother, we'll start tomorrow, and I'll teach you how to pickle cucumbers using my mother's recipe. Natalie, who had been quietly observing the scene, slipped out of the kitchen, wiping away a tear. She understood that their family's life would never be the same, but perhaps it would be even better. And as for the old family home, it still stood, though it belonged to others now. What mattered more was that it continued to live in the hearts of the brothers, in their memories, and in the love they had finally reclaimed. As for Marie, she never understood why her husband suddenly wanted to learn how to plant potatoes and preserve cucumbers. But that's a different story, one about how sometimes you have to lose something to truly appreciate its value, and how the most important things in life can't be bought for any price.